So today we're going to be making a miniature dog out of polymer clay. I'm going to be modeling my clay dog after my real life dog Rocky. So first things first, we're going to put down some wax paper because my white cutting mat doesn't need any more stains, especially from this black clay. So first we're going to get started with his head. You'll want to make a ball shape and then start pinching out one end to form their snout. So for me, I'm going to make a longer snout and then I'm going to end up pushing it back in because my dog has that cute little smushed face. Now we can get started on the body. So for the body, we're going to roll out a log of clay. And the two ends of the clay, we're going to flatten them down, but because we're doing a sitting dog, the angles of the flat spots kind of have to be more at a diagonal. I had to pull up a picture of a dog as a reference since mine would not sit still long enough for me to use him as a model. When you're liking what it looks like, it's time to attach the head. If you're struggling to get the head to stay on, you can use a toothpick to stick it into the body and then into the head. So here is what he is currently looking like. Don't worry too much if it's a little lumpy, we'll smooth it out later. Next we can move on to the ears. So you'll want to pull off a chunk of clay and roll it into a log shape, then pinch it into a triangle and flatten it out. Once you've gotten it into a shape you like, you can attach it to the dog. Depending on how your dog's ears sit, you can fold it and have it curl back in to touch the dog's head, or you can leave them floppy. Now time for a second ear. This ear I decided to have the point of the triangle facing towards his snout. I wasn't sure which way I liked it, so I wanted to see it both ways. Okay, now we can get started on the back leg. You can start rolling it into a ball shape and then pulling out a little offshoot, kind of like a duck bill, or how I learned, kind of like a speech bubble. The round part can be a little bit thicker than what you would expect because you're going to end up using it later on to hold the dog, so it'll get smushed down. Onto the second back leg, again we're going to form it into a ball, squish it flat, and then start pulling out that offshoot just like the bubble. His two back legs are now done. Now we can get started on the front legs. So these ones you'll want a pretty skinny log. And then at the bottom of one of the ends, you'll want to do a small bend and kind of flatten that more for his little foot. Once you like the shape, then you can attach it to the body. Remember, don't push too hard, just in case you need to end up redoing it. Now we can get started with the second front leg, again rolling it into a log and then bending one end and flattening it for his little foot. I'm not too sure about the shape of this leg, but I'm going to stick it on and see what it looks like, and then we can come back to it. Now let's come back to his ears. I am not really liking the shape of these, so I think I'm going to pull off the right one and reshape it. This is the one that had the point of the triangle facing backwards, and I think I prefer it facing forwards. So let's just reshape this ear and we can stick it back on. There we go. I think that looks a lot better. Now it's time to add his tail. Because my dog is a bulldog mix, he just has that little nub, so we're just going to roll it into a really short log and stick it on his butt. Now we gotta do his eyes and nose. For his nose, you'll want to roll it into an oval shape and flatten it out. His eyes are easy, they're just two tiny little balls. You can add the indentations first before you put the eyeballs in, but I did not end up doing that, and he kind of had little buggy eyes. There we go. His eyes and nose are now done. I'm just doing a little final adjustments on them. Now to get the dust and fingerprints off your clay, you can use rubbing alcohol. Typically I'll just tilt it upside down and just use the rubbing alcohol that's in the lid because you don't need too much. And I just use my finger because using a Q-tip kind of just leaves behind more debris. So while doing this, I realized I never finished his face. So my dog has those cute little saggy jowls, so we need to add those in. To do this, I just used the ball tool to push up at the bottom of his snout and to pull down his little cheeks. So we wanted that indent with 2 hanging lower parts. Once everything is looking good, I use my ball tool to just smooth everything down. And here's what he's currently looking like. So now we gotta pop him in the oven. Here's him out of the oven. He looks pretty similar. I gotta wait for him to cool and then we can paint him. Now I'll just be adding his accent colors with white acrylic paint. My dog is very strange because even though he's a bulldog boxer mix, he still has the coloring of a Boston Terrier. So we're gonna be adding white to his face, to his chest, and then giving him the cute little white socks. So I'm using a detail paintbrush for this just because of how small he is. I really want to only put the paint where I want it. And if you do mess up, the good thing is with acrylic paint, it's really easy to get it off. At the end, I just used a toothpick and kind of scratched it off the areas I didn't want it. Because we're painting black clay, I had to go back and do about 3 to 4 coats of this white paint to really make sure it popped. And here's what he's looking like. I made sure to add some feathering between the white and the black so it didn't look like hard lines, but I think he is so cute. Thanks for joining me and let me know what miniature project we should do next.